Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I want to chat about my winter TBR. I do monthly TBRs, and then I've also set myself a priority TBR for the whole year, which are my 26 books I want to read in 2026. But as a girl with a massive TBR, I do want to narrow it down and have like a seasonal TBR. I did this in my reading journal last year, just sort of jotting down some notes, some ideas, and I really liked it, but I did make it too big. I think I was putting like definitely over 30 books on my seasonal TBRs. And this year I want to make an effort and a bit of a reading challenge for myself to actually get through these books. So I've set it at 25 for the winter one, and depending on how this goes, I might need to decrease that for my spring, summer, fall TBR and next winter TBR, but we'll see how this goes for now. I feel like the sun just went down and the lighting changed like crazy, but I think I prefer this. Nope, there she goes again. Okay, it's like partly cloudy today, so I'm so sorry if the lighting changes on a dime. Hopefully it's not so bad and the camera adjusts it. But anyways, I picked out 25 books here that I really want to get to over the winter months. Now the winter months I'm counting as January, which we're already partway through, February, so March is like, I don't know, between the two. I feel like halfway through March is still winter in Canada for sure, and then the second half of that month it becomes spring. So I don't know, I'm giving myself until the end of March to read these, but hopefully I'm finished them by mid-March and I can start on my spring TBR by mid-March. So that's the timeline we have. We have 25 books on this TBR, and last year, like I said, I set these TBRs, same with my 25 books I want to read in 2025. I set it and I didn't take it as seriously as I should have, because by the end of the year and by the end of the season I hadn't finished them, and that's something I really want to try to do this year. Is if I'm taking the time to intentionally set these TBRs, then I really want to actually read them. So that's why there's only 25, and I'm saying only 25. It's still a massive amount of books to be reading. And the last thing I want to say is I'm only picking books that I own physically. This TBR is meant to motivate and focus myself on my physical TBR rather than new releases or books that I don't own physically. Okay, so enough prelude, enough chatting. Let's get into the 25 books I want to read in the rest of the winter months. We're starting off with 3 from a series. I have Eldest, Brisingar, and Inheritance. This is part of the series. The first book in the series is Aragon, and the series is called The Inheritance Cycle. There's also a 5th book to the series. I'm not putting it on my TBR. It's just a lot, and it's a huge book, and it's a bit of a newer release. It came out like 10 years or something after the release of Aragon, so I'm just sticking with the original 4 books in the series for now and seeing how I like it and how it ends. I might be adding the last one to my TBR, but for now, these are going to be the first 3 books that are on my winter TBR. Okay, next up I have The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent. This is one of the books on my 26 books for 2026. Alright, then I have All This Twisted Glory and Every Spiral of Fate. These are 2 books that are in the Woven Kingdom series, book 3 and book 4. Apparently book 5 is coming up this year, but yeah, I'd like to read these during the winter time. You'll see this TBR is very heavily fantasy just because it's the winter. It feels a bit more fantasy for me. And All This Twisted Glory is another one on my 26 books for 2026. Then I have The Rose Bargain. I do really want to read it over the winter. Okay, shifting gears a little, I have 2 romances. These are hockey romances. I have Unsteady and Unloved. Just because they're hockey romances, I feel like I want to read them in the winter time. It's just a bit more the vibe. Like, I have so many other romances that I want to get to through the other seasons, so to put some romances on this TBR, I feel like hockey romances kind of fit the vibe. Next up, I have A Twisted Lies, the last book in the Twisted series, and I really just want to finish up this series. Moving on, I have Rebel Witch. Again, this finishes up a duology. So I'm just really excited to read this book after finishing up The Heartless Hunter, the first one in the series. I am so excited to finish this. Now in a completely different line of thinking, it's the beginning of the year, so I can start some series. I want to read A Dance of Thieves, which starts off a duology. I want to read A Red Queen, the beginning of this series. I've been wanting to read this for so long, and I'm so excited. I got the physical copies of it at the end of last year, and yeah, I'm so excited to read this. And then, not a fantasy, I want to read Beartown. This is apparently literary fiction about like a hockey team, and everybody's like, that's kind of what it's about, but it's about so much more than that, and so that's great. But I feel like the setting, it's in Scandinavia somewhere, right? It's just giving, even the cover is just giving such winter vibes and winter settings, so I feel like just atmospherically winter would be a great time to read this. And also with starting a series, I want to read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is another one on my 26 books of 2026. This is a bind up of all 5 books, and for my TBR, I think I'm just gonna hold myself to put the first one on. This has been on my TBR for such a long time, so if I get through the first one, I am happy with that progress. Okay, next up I have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. At this point, this feels almost like a modern classic, and there's really no reason why this is on my winter TBR versus being on any other season, but I just want to get to it rather sooner than later. Then I have Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. Finishing this and The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, which I talked about at the very beginning of this video. This would finish up every book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series that is released right now, so I definitely want to get to this winter. But I feel like out of all of them, I feel like I probably have like a solid top 20 that I really want to get to, and this would probably be in those bottom 5s just because I feel like I could read this at any time. It's not necessarily attached to the winter for me for any reason. Moving on, these also don't really have any rhyme or reason why they're in the winter, but I do feel like a lot of romance books are associated with summertime and these are not to me. So for that reason, Addicted, For Now, Kiss the Sky, and Hot House Flower are the next 3 books in the Addicted series, and this is a series that I really want to get to this year. I put, I think, Addicted for now maybe on my 26 books in 2026 just to really be intentional about moving forward in this series, but I'm gonna put the next 3 books on my winter TBR, and I think that would leave me with like 4 or 5 books left in the series, so that would set me up really well to finish up the series by the end of the year. Moving on, I have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. This is a book I think that's also on my 26 of 2026, and it's also a book that I started up last year. I think I'm like a quarter of the way through it. That's really the reason that I want to get to this. I don't want to leave it standing on my shelf for too long after having started it. I feel like that always just doesn't create the best reading experience, so that's why it's on here, to really motivate me and to push me to read it. I feel like I'm at a bit of a lull in the story and that's why I haven't picked it up, but otherwise I would probably want to read this like in the fall time, but just because it is started, I do want to get to it and finish it up. Okay, we're nearing the end. The next 2 books are Spark and Glow of the Everflame. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this series, and I put the first one on my 26 books of 2026, but I figured, you know, if I'm going to be starting up this series, why not just go ahead and put the first 2 on my winter TBR. Alright, and the 2 last books that are on my winter TBR, if you've watched my video of the 26 books I want to read in 2026, I talked about this for a little while, but I really want to read the Middle-earth universe by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is where the Lord of the Rings is set in, but there's a lot of other books that are part of this universe, and as a huge Lord of the Rings fan, I really want to get into the entire backlog and all the published works that are part of this. So I did put the Book of Lost Tales Part 1 on my 26 books of 2026, so I'm adding this to my TBR, and I also added Part 2. Like I said, I do want to read a majority of the books that I own and get those off of my TBR for this year, and so I figured getting these 2 books read during the winter time would really set me up well for this. And they are like kind of shorter books as well. They are like super intimidating because of the way that they were written. I mean, it is like dialogue and everything from like 100 years ago. So those are all the books that I want to be reading over the next few months. If you have any thoughts about them, if you've read any of them, if you have any that you think I should have added, please do let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you're interested in hearing any of my thoughts about them, please consider sticking around to see them in reading vlogs, reading wrap-ups, that sort of thing. So that's it from me for now. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye!